Sutra. Should persons in stupas or in temples make offerings with a reverent heart to jeweled or painted images with flowers, incense, banners, or canopies? Or should they cause others to make music with drums, horns, or conches, panpipes, flutes, lutes, or bamboo lights, guitars, cymbals, or brass gongs, with many wondrous sounds as these, played solely as offerings? Commentary. Should persons in stupas or in temples make offerings with a reverent heart to jeweled or painted images with flowers, incense, banners, or canopies? If holding thoughts of respect, they make offerings to Buddha images of incense, banners, canopies, or other articles such as beads, clothing, food, and drink, or merely place their palms together? Or should they cause others to make music? Perhaps they invite other people to make music with drums, horns, or conches, panpipes, flutes, lutes, or bamboo lights, guitars, cymbals, or brass gongs, all different kinds of music instruments. Brass gongs are rather large. Perhaps you have never seen any. When you are making music before the Buddha, you should make proper music. You must not sing love songs, songs about men and women. Your music must be in praise of the triple jewel. Hitting the wooden fish and ringing small bells is a kind of music making. Reciting sutras and mantras is also a kind of musical offering. With many wondrous sounds as these, played solely as offerings, only subtle and wonderful sounds are offered to the Buddha. Sutra. Or if with happy hearts with songs and trance they praised the Buddha's virtues, with even just one small sound, they have realized the Buddha way. If people with scattered minds have given but a single flower as an offering to a painted image, they shall gradually see numberless Buddhas. If they bowed in worship or merely placed their palms together, or even raised a single hand, or gave a slight nod of the head as an offering to the images, they shall gradually see countless Buddhas and have themselves realized the Buddha way. They will rescue countless multitudes and enter nirvana without residue, as the fire goes out when the fuel has been consumed. Commentary. Or if with happy hearts, with songs and chants they praised the Buddha's virtues. Chants are Brahma or pure sounds like odes. They laud the virtues of the Buddha, praising his virtue in the way, with even just one small sound. Maybe they make only a tiny melody. They have realized the Buddha way. If by means of a very small sound they accomplish the Buddha path, they will accomplish the path even quicker with more and bigger sounds. If people with scattered minds, if there are people who have no samadhi power and who are confused, have given but a single flower as an offering to a painted image, they shall gradually see numberless Buddhas. Because of the merit and virtue obtained by making such offerings, they will get to meet with an uncountable number of Buddhas. If they bowed in worship or merely placed their palms together as a gesture of respect, or even raised a single hand, or gave a slight nod of the head as an offering to the images, they shall gradually see countless Buddhas. From that first thought of respect, which inspires them to make even these very small gestures of worship, they will acquire merit and virtue and have themselves realized the Buddha way. They will rescue countless multitudes. Not only will they accomplish the Buddha path, they will save countless living beings and enter nirvana without residue as a fire goes out when the fuel has been consumed. When the firewood has all been burned, the fire goes out. The living beings with potential to be tortured are like the fuel. The response body of the Buddha, which appears to rescue living beings, is like the fire. When the living beings have all been crossed over, the response fire goes out. Sutra. If people with scattered minds enter stupas or temples, but say but once Namo Buddha, they have realized the Buddha way. Commentary. If people with scattered minds, scattered means that they have no samadhi power. They are not at all concentrated. These lines describe a situation such as when the tourists come here to visit the temple and gaze around at the Buddha images. They do not have sincere hearts. What is more, they may look at the images, but they do not know anything at all about the Buddha. You could say they were the scattered ones among the scattered ones. Enter stupas or temples. If they go into Buddhist stupas or Buddhist temples and say but once Namo Buddha, they have realized the Buddha way. All they have to do is say one sentence, homage to the Buddha. From that one recitation, they will ultimately realize Buddhahood. Why is this? It is because a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. If you want to travel 1,000 miles, where do you begin? You begin with the first step. Having taken that first step, you can travel 1,000 miles. The perfect interpenetration of the myriad virtues begins with the first thought. If you wish to become a Buddha, it begins with that very first thought. In that first thought, you plant the Buddha seed. In the future, you reap the fruit of Buddhahood. Reciting Namo Buddha, Namo Amitabha Buddha, or Namo Shakyamuni Buddha, or Namo Medicine Master Buddha, who dispels calamities and lengthens life, may seem very easy to do, but such an opportunity is not easy to meet up with. All of you know how to recite the Buddha's name, but think it over. For all the people in the world, those who do not know how to recite the Buddha's name in the majority or are those who do. You might say that those who know how to recite are as few as the moon, and those who do not know how to recite are as many as the stars. Are there more stars or more moons? Those who can recite the Buddha's name are able to do so because the gurus from their former lives have matured, enabling them to encounter the Dharma door of Buddha recitation. When the Buddha was in the world, he had a cousin named Devadatta. Devadatta was the Buddha's enemy. He did nothing but oppose the Buddha. The Buddha taught his disciples to eat one meal a day in the middle of the day, but Devadatta was determined to outdo him. So you eat one meal a day, he said. I teach my disciples to eat one meal every 100 days. Shakyamuni Buddha taught his disciples to be vegetarians and not to eat meat. Devadatta said, not only do I teach my disciples to refrain from eating meat, they do not even consume salt. This was done merely to prove that no matter what Buddha did, Devadatta was always higher than the Buddha. But no matter how hard he tried, he never could recite the Buddha's name. If you try to teach him to recite, he would refuse to do it. All his life, all he ever did was commit offenses, continually opposing the Buddha. When his evil karma had finally reached the point of overflow, he went to hell alive. Go to hell alive means that in his very body of flesh he went to hell. Just as he was about to go to hell, just as he was at the gates of hell, he thought up to recite the Buddha's name. He wanted to recite it, but he could not get a sound out. All he could scream was Namo. He could not say the word Buddha. His karmic obstacles bound him up so tightly that he could not say the Buddha's name. Shakyamuni Buddha saw him and said, "He is really pitiful, but do not look on him lightly. When he is finished with his punishment in the house, he will become a Pratika Buddha. His Buddha name will be simply Namo. It is because he recited Namo as he fell into hell. As a Pratika Buddha, he will be called Namo. So do not look on it as all so easy and think, I can recite the Buddha's name whenever I feel like it. Right now, you are not blocked by your karmic obstacles, but when it obstructs you, if you try to recite it, you would not be able to do so." There is another story about reciting the Buddha's name. When the Buddha was in the world, there was a very poor old man. He saw Shakyamuni Buddha accompanied by his 1,250 disciples going every day to beg for food. And he thought it was not bad. Every day they went out with their bowls, begged for food, came back and ate, and that was all there was to it. Very well, he thought, I will leave home. He thought the bhikkhus were very comfortable and did not have to do any work, no bitterness and no bother, very pure and free. So he decided to leave home and went to the Jeta Grove to ask for permission to do so. But that day the Buddha had gone out to accept offerings of food for lunch. As for the Buddha's disciples, some had opened their Buddha eyes, some had opened their wisdom eyes, some had opened their Dharma eyes, and some had the 5 eyes. And the 6 spiritual penetrations, others had certified to the first, second, and 4th stages of arhatship. Now, to open the eyes is not to certify to the fruit. When people have opened their Buddha eye, this is called the penetration obtained from virtue. This happens because in previous lives, one has cultivated the 42 hands, and the suragama is a great deal. This Dharma does bring about that reward. But this is definitely not the same as certifying to the first fruit, the second, third, or 4th fruit. Arhats who have certified to the fruit can be the operation of cause and effect throughout 80,000 great eras. Those who have opened their Buddha eye or their wisdom eye may be able to see as far as 1 life, 2 lives, 3 lives, 5 lives, 10 lives, 100 lives, 1,000 lives, or 10,000 lives, but they cannot see as far as 80,000 great eons. Certified arhats, however, can see all the causes and conditions of 80,000 great eons. When the proper stricken old man came to live the home life, the disciples, the great arhats, contemplated and observed his potential to see if he was too fit to leave home. They saw that this person in the last 80,000 great eons had never made an offering to the Buddha. He had never bowed to the Buddha, had never recited the Buddha's name or uttered even a tiny sound of praise as an offering to the Buddha, or a single flower, but even put his hands together or waved his hand or even nodded his head. Since he had no merit and virtue, how could he leave home? It is said. Don't say that leaving home is easy to do. It is the result of planting the causes of Bodhi throughout many lives. Those who leave home must have planted gurus in many lives and have brought forth the Bodhi heart. It is not just a matter of thinking, I would like to leave home, and doing it. If you do not have the gurus, you might want to leave home, but obstacles will arise. You might leave home for 1 or 2 days and then return to lay life. You might leave home for 1 or 2 years, for 3, 5, or 10 years, and then return to lay life and not leave home again. Such things do happen. So do not think leaving home is very simple. So that Arhata saw that he had not planted gurus in the last 80 great eons and therefore would not be able to leave home. They told him, you cannot leave home. You are too old. You cannot cultivate. It would be best for you to go back to wherever you came from. Do not stay here. Hearing this, the old man was overcome with grief. On the one hand, he walked, and on the other, he thought, I thought leaving home would be very simple. I never would have guessed that the Buddha's disciples would refuse me. Probably they will not accept me because I am old and poor. Well, if they will not accept me, I will just go jump in the sea and drown and end it all. Then, still walking and weeping, he made his way for the sea and suicide. But just as he was about to jump, along came Shakyamuni Buddha, who said, Old man, why are you throwing yourself in the sea? I wanted to leave home, the old man replied. I went to the Jeta Grove to do so, but the Buddha was not there, and the Buddha's disciples would not accept me. As far as I am concerned, there is really nothing joyful in human existence. I'd rather just hurry up and end my life. My life is meaningless. Shakyamuni Buddha said, So you want to leave home? That is no problem. Come back with me and I allow you to leave home. The old man returned with the Buddha, left home, cultivated, and after just a few days, certified to the fruit of arhatship. The Buddha's disciples did not understand this at all. How strange, they thought. This person has no good rules. How could he certify to arhatship? He has not done a single good deed throughout the last 80,000 great eons. How could the Buddha experiment him to leave home? They questioned the Buddha, and the Buddha gave them this explanation. You arhats can only see the causes and effects of the last 80,000 great eons. What happened outside of that you do not know. This old man, over 80,000 years ago, was a poor firewood gatherer in the mountains. One day he met up with a tiger. Just as the tiger was about to bite him, in his great fear he screamed, Namo Buddha! That one recitation scared the tiger away, and so he was not eaten. The seed planted by his single recitation of Namo Buddha has now matured as the good roots, which have enabled him to leave home and certify to the fruit of arhatship. From the looks of this, we can tell that it is not easy to leave home. Also in India, there was a certain outside way sect whose member made offerings to the images of a heavenly spirit. The heavenly spirit's body was made of wood or clay, but the head was made of gold. Once a thief wanted to steal the head, but when he went to take it, the awesome virtue of the heavenly spirit made him afraid. In his fear, he thought to recite Namo Buddha. The recitation dispelled his feeling because it had stripped the heavenly spirit of his awesome virtue. Fearlessly, then he stole off with the golden head. Later on, everyone said, "Take a look at that heavenly spirit everyone believes in." They said that it is not the least bit efficacious. If it were, how could it have had its head stolen? It is useless to believe in it. When they said this, the heavenly spirit came along and took possession of a person's body. Sometimes spirits give off an efficacious energy, and if it takes possession of someone, the victim will become senseless as if they were drunk. The spirit began to speak through the medium and said, "It is not that I am not efficacious. When the thief came, he was afraid to take my hand, but when he recited Namo Buddha, the whole area was flooded with Buddha light, and I could not even open my eyes. I was unable to protect my head. That is how he managed to steal it. It is certainly not the case that I am not efficacious, but the awesome virtue of the Buddha is even greater than mine, and so I had no way to protect my head." Hearing this, one may wonder, did the Buddha insist the thief in stealing the golden head of the heavenly spirit? Did he aid him in doing this evil karma? No, the thief recited the Buddha's name. The merit and virtue that comes from reciting the Buddha's name is inconceivable. Whether a good person or an evil person recites, it has the same effect. It is not the case that when an evil person recites it, there is no merit and virtue, but when a good person recites it, there is. The merit and virtue is the same, so even though he was a thief, he still called on the Buddha, and his recitation enabled him to reveal the heavenly spirit's gold head. The Buddha certainly was not helping him in a thief, rather they were helping him perfect his good rules.